I'm good. All right, pardon me. Too loud. This is City Council regular meeting. We're in City Council chambers, thank goodness. 389 Spruce Street. It's Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, and it is a little bit past 7 o'clock. We're calling the meeting to order and asking the clerk to please call the roll.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Guzan.
Present.
Bill Clancy.
Here.
Louise Michael.
Present.
Danielle Trumbull.
Here.
Dave Harshbarger.
Here.
Brian Butcher.
Here.
Mayor Celine.
Here. First item is the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, need to approve the minutes. Thank you. Let's go. Anybody else want to second that one?
I second.
All right. So this is the June 4th regular meeting minutes that we just did that with. So we just vote by acclamation. And that passes. And now we're moving on to our correspondence. And there is, this is the Juneteenth proclamation. And in light of the fact it is really long, I'm going to sit here and you're going to sit here while we read it. And then I can come and meet you at the podium and hand it over to you. It is well-written and lengthy. So, whereas our country is made up of people from every part of the world who are all declared equal in freedom and justice, both of which are essential for a healthy society, and whereas our nation was formed on July 4th, 1776, with the Declaration of Independence and its fundamental principle, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and whereas on New Year's Day, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation providing that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state, the people whereof shall be in rebellion against the United States, shall then be henceforth and forever free. And whereas the Emancipation Proclamation made the permanent abolition of slavery a Union war aim and provided the legal framework for the liberation of approximately 4 million slaves in the Confederacy as the Union armies advanced. Hearing of the proclamation, many slaves escaped to Union lines as its military progressed, where some of the newly liberated slaves enlisted to serve with Union forces. And whereas the 13th Amendment was passed by Congress on January 31st, 1865, and ratified on December 6th, 1865, thereby abolishing slavery in the United States. And whereas the Civil War ended on April 9th, 1865, on June 19th, 1865, Union General Gordon Granger led troops into Galveston, Texas, to announce the war's end and the passage of the 13th Amendment, making thousands of enslaved people in Texas the last to hear the news of their hard-won freedom. And whereas Juneteenth was signed into law as a federal holiday on June 17th, 2021 in the United States, and the governor of West Virginia has issued proclamations declaring Juneteenth will be treated as an official state holiday, but providing the proclamation will not affect private businesses, local governments, or other service specified in the proclamation. And whereas Morgantown residents have been organizing community-wide Juneteenth celebration for many years. Now therefore, I, Jenny Celine, the mayor of the city of Morgantown, West Virginia, on behalf of City Council, on this 18th day of June, 2024, proclaim June 19th, now and henceforth the holiday Juneteenth in the city of Morgantown, and urge all to reflect on the ongoing cause of freedom for the Black community, remembering that though General Granger's announcement in 1865 called for absolute equality, that vision remains far from realized. you. Appreciate it's being brought forward.
I've never seen one before. It's great.
Well, there it
Shorter
is.
than I usually do the first time.
It's just fine how it is.
Okay.
And if you had anything you
I
wanted
have
to
two
say.
things to say, yes.
And then
Then go away? Yes, I'll do that.
you can do that
Okay.
when you're done. Thank you.
Alrighty. So when I do these proclamations, which seems to be, say, every other week, I tend to learn things. I did not know that the Emancipation Proclamation did not apply to all states. I thought that was for everybody. It was only declared for the southern states that seceded. So it had no effect because slaves were in the North still. So nothing happened for them until the 13th Amendment came along. So that's what I learned in doing this one. I was going to have Danielle Walker here with me tonight to receive a copy of the proclamation, but she had a medical emergency last night for her family. She was going to announce the Juneteenth Walker's Warriors Blood Drive at the First Presbyterian Church. It takes place tomorrow from 12 p.m. until 6 p.m. You can call to make an appointment, or I imagine they'll take walk-ins. It's being done in honor of her son, Dimitri Walker, who was almost to his bachelor's degree in nursing, but passed away on Juneteenth in 2021 from leukemia. It was an aggressive form that just caught them by surprise, and then he was gone. And it was quite devastating for the family, and not great for the community in general because he's quite involved and socially active. So I placed copies of the flyer for the blood drive up there kind of every other seat because I didn't bring that many. And there are more back on the podium with the agendas for the city meeting that you're having right now. So if anybody's interested, please come along, and it'll be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie.
And if you'd like to be on the Human Rights Commission, apply online, morgantownwb.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is new officer oath, and we'd ask the city clerk to administer it.
Morgantown Police take an oath to protect the people in their community and to uphold the highest ethical standards. When you see an officer, when you see the badge, see what's behind it. It's a firm commitment to our country and community. Police officers have one of the world's most honored but dangerous occupations. When there is an incident or emergency in the community, police officers are one of the first on the scene. Police officers are guided by the principles of justice and employ the highest ethical standards. It is a great honor today to swear in Morgantown Police Officer Hannah Horn. Will you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Hannah Marie Horn, do solemnly swear
I, Hannah Marie Horn, do solemnly swear
that I will preserve, protect, and defend
that I will preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the state of West Virginia,
the state of West Virginia,
and the city of Morgantown
and the city of Morgantown
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
both foreign and domestic,
both foreign and domestic.
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
And I will faithfully and impartially discharge
my duties as a police officer
my duties as a police officer
for the Morgantown Police Department
for the Morgantown Police Department
according to the laws of state of West Virginia
according to the laws of the state of West Virginia
and the charter of the city of Morgantown.
and the charter of the city of Morgantown.
So help me God.
So help me God.
There's two of them.
Yeah, get some pictures. Yeah, we should go out. Let's wait
No, I was
one
just
second.
getting
We'd
on.
like to all come up with you too. Get one like that.
Okay.
This is a big deal.
All right, we'll see one first.
Pass the physical fitness part.
She was a basketball player at Morgantown. MHS.
Then we'd like Emily Mazzarelli would introduce our Human Resources Director.
Absolutely. So we were so excited today to have Betsy Plumley with us. She is our new HR director, and I would invite Betsy out to say hello and just maybe say a few words. Good evening. How is everybody doing? My name is Betsy Plumley, the new Human Resources Director, and I am truly honored to be here and be part of the city and start working forward to a brighter future for us, and honored to be part of the team. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We've already heard good things about you.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Good. Good. Make sure you link that.
I got some nice texts.
Wonderful. That I've really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Betsy has a bowl of candy on her desk that I frequent, but has already hit the ground running and been to many, if not all, of our facilities and hitting all of the various crews that work different hours, and has been in on a number of interviews already. So we're keeping her busy. So we're very glad to have her, and I think she works already very well with the rest of the HR department. So.
Hitting the ground running, apparently. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Drew Cantus, Chief Building Official. There we go.
Good evening, and thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to present some information tonight about the Code Enforcement Division of Development Services. Thanks again for your continued support. I thought I'd start out tonight by going over a brief overview of what our division of the department does for the community and provide some statistics, and then close with some news or updates with the department more recently. So, as many of you know, our office is responsible for many key elements of the enforcement of codes here in the city of Morgantown. I've broken them into 6 broad categories here just to kind of keep track of them a little bit better. First is the building code enforcement, which includes plan reviews, permit issuance, and inspections for all building and construction related activities in the city. Second is in relation to the building codes, the property maintenance code enforcement. That pertains to inspections and issuance of notice of violations for building code violations and property maintenance violations. Third is enforcement of the housing code, which regulates rental registration and inspections for all rental units within the city of Morgantown. Fourth is local provisions of our code, including the vacant structure code, the unsafe structure code, grading requirements, and floodplain ordinance. The latter of those two we work with hand in hand with the engineering department for enforcement. Fifth is litter prevention. I'm sure you're all familiar with litter prevention and the time it activity, that is. And 6th is health and sanitation code, which ties into litter prevention for our division, predominantly with weeds and noxious materials and solid waste collection, just a small section of that code pertaining to traffic and zone assignment. So that concludes the brief overview of the service our department provides. I wanted to give you some statistics from January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. We developed some internal record keeping that will allow us to keep track of some key elements and provide mechanisms for improvement in tracking just how effective our codes are. Building permits issued 1,624 during the time period, with a roughly $36 million permit valuation. That's the improvement value in the community, commercial and residential combined. $212,000 plus in fees were generated from those building permits. Associated with the building permits were plan reviews. 356 plan reviews were conducted. Fees generated from plan review was roughly $30,000. During the same time period, 69 certificate of occupancy applications were applied for, with 58 being issued, roughly $4,000 plus in fees collected. Shifting gears slightly to the property maintenance element of the code, our department received 601 complaints from the community regarding property maintenance violations. Staff issued 1,649 notices of violation. In that same time period, was able to resolve 1,259. That's roughly 76% of the notices of violation that were issued during the time period. I think that's pretty effective, and doesn't account for the notices issued at the end of the year that didn't comply within the time period. Of those notices issued, 2,080 violations were discovered. 1,387 of those were complied with, 67% roughly. In terms of rental housing code enforcement, staff was able to perform 2,497 routine rental inspections and then follow up with the subsequent re-inspections to the tune of 1,866 inspections. During those inspections, 607 notices were issued, with 456 of them being resolved in the reporting period. Again, 75% success there. 4,427 violations were discovered on those inspections, with 3,847 being resolved, and that's roughly 87% of all violations discovered were resolved. During the same period, January 1st through December 31st, staff was able to address property maintenance violations and ended up condemning 37 properties. During the same time period, 21 were resolved or condemnation was lifted. So as properties came into compliance, either through demolition or just making small corrections, we were able to resolve some of those. 68 vacant property inspections were conducted, and during the time period, for various violations, 88 citations were issued for municipal court, and we appeared in court 96 times for differing violations. So that gives a little bit of statistical analysis of things over the past year, 2023, and hopefully we can identify ways to improve upon our success so far. In terms of new business, the city recently implemented the CityWorks permitting platform. Results of the implementation of that have been spread across the board. Some people like it, some people do not like it. We're still working through some bugs and staff processes that will improve upon things greatly. But I think overall in the future, it will streamline a lot of processes for everyone. Two other major projects that we've been involved with was bid call 2024-06. That's asbestos sampling and testing of 59 structures along Richwood Avenue area for redevelopment. Currently, we're working on putting together the demo bid packet for advertisement. So we'll be moving forward with that as fast as we can. Our department has a zone map for inspectors that kind of provides a mechanism for inspectors to have responsibility in different areas of town. We've recently worked on tweaking that to provide equity internally and also across the neighborhoods and make sure that the level of service is provided that the community deserves. And as we fill staff positions, we'll be able to better provide that service as well. I have identified 3 challenges that we currently face within our division and our department. First and foremost is staffing. Second is technology. And third is building permit turnaround time. The latter of which will be improved greatly with the fulfillment of vacant staff positions throughout the division and the department, and the subsequent training of new and old staff on the new software, along with an effort to educate the public on the new software and the processes. Finally, I'd like to make an announcement that recently the city participated in the ISO Building Codes Effectiveness Grading Schedule Evaluation. That's a periodic review of our effectiveness. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the highest, we received a 4. State average is a 5, so we're above average, and we're able to identify some things to improve upon that score going forward. So hopefully we can do that and help the community with their insurance. So that's all I have. One parting note, I would like to commend our staff on their dedication and their efforts. They work really hard and they're proud of what they do. So thank you for your support.
Thanks, Jim.
Can you thank your staff on our behalf?
I will.
And appreciate your straightforward and complete approach.
All right, appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we have a representative from the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, a presentation by Amy Benzelli, Community Engagement Manager.
Tammy.
Pardon? Tammy.
Tammy.
Not Amy. Oh, pardon me. Tammy.
Yes, ma'am.
I was so busy working on your last name that I messed up your first name.
That's okay.
Pardon me.
Well, good evening. I am Tammy Renzelli. I am the Community Engagement Manager for Breakthrough West Virginia, formerly known as JDRF. My position is funded thanks to Highmark West Virginia Charitable Fund for Health to provide support and resources to those who are touched by T1D, type 1 diabetes. I'd like to thank Mr. Hawes and the council for allowing me to come this evening. I come to share a lot of good news and opportunities for the residents of Mon County. I feel blessed to have the opportunity to help provide free events, resources, and education to my hometown, Morgantown, and to advocate for people living with or loving someone with T1D, for my son is one of those persons. Some of you are wondering, what is T1D? You may be more familiar with the name JDRF. Well, that is still us. We simply changed our name to Breakthrough T1D. We are excited to share our new name as we know the word breakthrough signifies scientific discovery and research. Our organization, through the use of marketing researchers, found that 50% of people globally understood the term T1D. As our name was formerly Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, today approximately 80% of people who are diagnosed with T1D are adults. Our name is more inclusive to include all people, just not juveniles. Even though our name and look has changed, our mission stands steadfast: to accelerate life-changing breakthroughs to cure, prevent, and treat type 1 diabetes and its complications. Breakthrough T1D is the largest leading nonprofit type 1 diabetes organization globally. As a leading global T1D research and advocacy organization, we help make everyday life better for the T1D community while driving towards cures. There are 3 pillars of community engagement that we focus on. One is our bag of hope. Any child in West Virginia or across the nation or the globe who is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes receives a bag of hope. We also have a teen pack and an adult bag of hope, or adult kit is what they're referred to. These are funded or provided by the healthcare provider once they are been diagnosed as having type 1. If they are not given by the provider, you can get on our website and we will ship that out to you free of no cost. The second pillar involves being there for the newly diagnosed to help support them and provide resources. Our events are ways for them to connect with other people living with T1D and to build their own network, as our organization is community-driven. Our third pillar is to educate. Our community summit is one way in which we provide the community the opportunity to learn about new breakthroughs in T1D and new technology to help manage their T1D, while learning from and sharing information from others and their peers. To determine where and what the needs are in our T1D community in West Virginia, we have created a survey. The survey was sent to over 200 residents in West Virginia living with or loving someone with T1D. Most of our responses came from Mon County. If you would like to take the survey or have it to provide to someone that you know that is living with T1D, I have the link and the survey handy. The AV equipment kind of didn't work, but I do have hard copies of that, and you can find it on our website as well. Some of the ways we're going to help make everyday life better and inspire local residents to cultivate a culture and environment to support one another and drive towards a cure is by hosting our first Friends and Family Picnic for people living with and loving someone with T1D. This, like all our events, is free. Our picnic will be July 20th at Marilla Park Pavilion from 11 to 2. Everyone is welcome. You just bring your lunch and we will have the food and the fun. We will have carb counts, so there will be no need, there will be pre-wrapped information on the label. So if you do have someone with type 1, the carbs will be available, and we will have drinks as well. And then on August 17th, some of you may have participated in the past in our One Walk here in Morgantown. Now it's called our annual Breakthrough T1D Walk, and that will be at the Track and Field Complex at Milan Park on August 17th. Registration and activities begin at 10 o'clock, and you can also find that on the website. And then to welcome the fall, we will be hosting our first community summit at the Erickson Alumni Center on October 26th from 9 to 11 with world-renowned diabetes researcher and author, Gary Schreiner. He is a strong believer in grassroots efforts and delivers his information so that it touches everyone and everyone can understand it. He is also the author of Think Like a Pancreas. Again, this is a free event, and we haven't got all the details lined up, but that will be coming out on our website as well. I'd like to thank you all for welcoming me this evening and then letting me share this great news and things that's going to be coming in Morgantown. Again, the grant is for the entire state, but we felt that Morgantown had a lot of resources, and our survey showed that there is people who are participating in our surveys. So I want to thank you all for letting me come tonight, and my goal is to make type 1 diabetes type none. So thank you all, and I have some flyers if you would like to take them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Now we have some specific public hearings. And so there's a public portion later on. So this is public hearings on matters that we're having a second reading for. And so you would, if you're wanting to make a comment about any of these, you can come to the podium and have a chance to say. So the first one is an ordinance providing for the zoning reclassification of certain portions of parcels of real estate in the 4th Ward of the City of Morgantown, Tax District 12, Tax Map 15, parcels 94 and 95, commonly known as 362 Creston Avenue from O1, Office and Institutional District, to R3, Multifamily Residential District, amending Article 1331 of the Planning and Zoning Code of the City of Morgantown, as shown in the exhibit hereto attached and declared to be part of this ordinance as if the same were fully set forth herein. So we're going to open this public hearing, and if somebody wants to speak about this rezoning, you can come to the podium and talk about it. And if there's no one wishing to speak, we're going to close this public hearing, and then we're going to look at item B, an ordinance naming Mundy's Alley. So we're going to open this as a public hearing. If anyone's wishing to speak about this naming. If not, we're going to close this particular public hearing, and then we're going to open one on an ordinance establishing compensation for members of the Common Council of the City of Morgantown. If someone is wishing to speak on this item, please feel free to come forward. We're going to close this item. Last item is an ordinance annexing property of Brewston Farm Service into the City of Morgantown. I'm going to open that hearing if anyone's wishing to speak on that topic. And we're going to close that item. Then we have unfinished business. Item A, consideration of approval of a second reading of an ordinance providing for the zoning reclassification of certain portions of real estate, of parcels of real estate in the 4th Ward of the City of Morgantown, Tax District 12, Tax Map 15, parcels 94 and 95, commonly known as 362 Creston Avenue, from O1 Office and Institutional District to R3 Multifamily Residential District, amending Article 1331 of the Planning and Zoning Code of the City of Morgantown, as shown in the exhibit hereto attached, and declared to be part of this ordinance as if the same were fully set forth herein. And the first reading was May 7th of 24. And our Development Director, Ricky, tell me your correct title, because I always get it all.
Development Services Director.
Development Services Director.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Mayor, members of council. As stated before, the ordinance before you on second reading would rezone 2 parcels of land that were previously subdivided and consolidating with the adjoining lot next door, 362 Creston Avenue, from an OI to a R3 district. The Planning Commission's approval of the subdivision and lot consolidation was contingent on the applicant bringing a petition forward to rezone the parcels, and they have done that, and we appreciate their cooperation and request approval of the zoning map amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? We have discussed this on other occasions. If the clerk would please call the roll.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Buganim,
Yes.
Bill Koecki,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Celine.
Yes, this item passes unanimously, I believe. Item B, consideration approval of a second reading of an ordinance establishing compensation for members of the Common Council of the City of Morgantown. The first reading was June 4th, 2024. Emily Mazzarelli, our Assistant Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. During the 2021-2022 classification compensation study, our consultant reviewed comparable communities for not only employee pay, but also council pay. Of the communities that responded for council pay, only one community paid less than Morgantown and one paid the same. The last time council pay was increased was in 2007, which would be 20 years from the proposed effective date of this ordinance. Due to the increasing demands on time commitment, cost of living, and personal impact of serving on council, we're proposing that council consider an ordinance increasing council pay from $250 to $350 for a regular meeting for council members, and from $350 to $450 per regular meeting for the mayor. This would not become effective until July 1st, 2027. Per Article 2, Section 202, it requires that changes in compensation can't impact current council terms, and that change must be 6 months before an election, which is why that election is being brought forth before council now. If we push it too far into 2024, that would result in the next effective date as July 1st of 2029. So this is before council for consideration.
How about a motion and then we can have discussion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. In the compensation study, it's been a long time since we really looked at that. With this proposed increase, where would that put council salaries compared to the other municipalities that are we are compared to?
I don't have the specifics offhand of that in front of me. I can pull it up, but I do believe that would still keep us below some, but more in the middle to top end of the pack for the comparable communities that responded.
I still think there's a lot of things that are time sensitive. A charter review also, if we were going to put something on a ballot for changing anything on the charter, that is also of a timely nature, and I still think it's incredibly short-sighted that we are talking about this right now instead of so many other things.
Just for some background information, this for council member pay would increase it to $8,400 a year, assuming that would be 24 regular meetings a year. I know sometimes that number usually doesn't go up ever, but it does sometimes go down. For example, this year we won't have our first August meeting, so that number could go down, but $8,400 a year would be what is anticipated. And as of the last study, there were 3 groups that would be paying higher than that from the compensation study and responses that were done before that. So there was 8 groups that had responded. So again, that put us about in the middle of
Did
the
the
pack.
compensation study have any information about how many members those councils had?
I don't believe that did. It did specify if there was a difference between the mayor stipend versus council mayor stipend, or the council member stipend. And so some of those communities that responded had a strong mayor form of government or council president, so that, or sometimes in certain instances both. So that did get recorded as well. But that's just looking at the numbers I provided would just be looking at council member pay.
And the date of that study was 2 years ago? About?
Yes, I believe it was as finalized and published in 2022.
So, whereas we made other changes in city government 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, or a year ago, this has not been taken up. So, there's not usually a good time to take care of matters like this, and so it seemed as though this was a time to do it, in that if we waited, that then we would be looking at 2029 when it would take effect. So this is on our agenda to be voted on, up or down. Appreciate everyone's consideration. Is there any other comments?
Happy to move this forward for a future council. 20 years is a long time.
I agree. Thank you.
It's pretty bad that I remember the last time, so.
Just trying to answer your question, Danielle.
I think the last time was Don Spencer.
Oh, no, I was just saying to
What?
answer Danielle's question about the number of counselors on each one of these.
It varies quite a bit between.
To be
the
fair, it's not
different-
going to change my vote.
Yeah,
I was just
if you're
curious.
just curious.
My question was really about the salary of council and where that would put us in comparison to the other municipalities, because when staff brought to us the salaries for staff, they were very upfront that we're looking to be right in the middle. We're doing a median kind of thing. We don't want to be at the top. We don't want to be at the bottom. I just wanted to make sure this wasn't putting us like way up there when we weren't willing to do that for staff.
So to give you an idea, I've looked at most of these. Charleston pays $7,000 a year, and they have 500 city councilors. Easton, PA has 8, and they pay $9,371 a year, and pay their mayor $91,000. Huntington pays their mayor.
That's an elected mayor, though, right?
Right, it's strong mayor, and then Huntington as well, strong mayor, $114,000 to the mayor, $645 with, I believe, I saw 9 councilors. No, more than that, because they have 2 at large, so I think 10 in Huntington, and $645 a month. Lancaster, PA has 8 councilors, pay them $8,000 a month. Parkersburg has 10. Oh no, 9, and they pay them $6,000 a year. So, like, I mean, total compensation with all counselors accounted for, it's probably less than all of them.
It is.
And this is
If only we had
2027.
No, we can do, 3
We used
counselors
to.
award.
Used to, before charter revision, have a large number.
We had a charter revision?
It's too late now. We have this built.
You have to kick us off of this.
All right.
Also in the audience.
So, if there aren't any other comments, we will have the clerk call the roll. All right, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Buganim?
Yes.
Bill Kolecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
No.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
Yes. Passes 6-1. And now we are on to boards and commissions. I think we have a couple of appointments.
Mayor, if I may nominate Dennis Smith to the library board.
I'll second.
Okay.
And I'd like to nominate Danny Trejo to the Human Rights Commission.
Second.
By acclamation.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're on to the public portion. This is a public portion which shall be subject to rules established by council and adopted by resolution. So you would come to the podium, you would state your name and your address, and the little lights will tell you when you're getting toward the end of your time. And we will go by this list, but if anyone is wishing to speak who is not on this list, you're totally able to speak after the person on here speaks, because we really want to hear your comments. So we would start with James Giuliani.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Good evening, council. Good evening, reporter and attorney, administrative assistant. My name is James Giuliani. I live at 256 Prairie Avenue. And there's a lot of things I can come and talk about, but I'm going to try to be specific, and I hope I can do it justice in 4 minutes. What I'm coming to talk about is the proposed charter school at the corner of South High Street and Prairie Avenue. I will be their neighbor. I will be their closest neighbor. Since October, this group has come into our city to get planning and zoning, but here's the problem that I put in front of you all, is that that's Chapter 18 of public schools in West Virginia. A public charter school follows the same zoning as all public schools. Now we know that in the 37 years, or I know in the 37 years that I've lived next to Morgantown High School, a school that's grown from 1,200 students, 1,150 when I moved there, to 1,850 students, that doesn't supply near any of the parking that it has needs, has things going on all day long, continually, night, day, to every group, semi-pro football teams, et cetera, et cetera. And now they're proposing to redo their auditorium, which has been sat vacant for 18 years. I don't suspect that it'll come to this city for planning and zoning. So the fact of the matter is that I'm not sure what you would call it. In the beginning, I saw some articles that talked about bias and discrimination. I would like to think that it's not bias and discrimination, but guess what? Is incompetence or malfeasance worse than that? Is not paying attention to the public coming to you? I've come to the planner, I've come to council people, I've come to the city manager months ago and with this information and said to him, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Okay? Why are we zoning these people differently than we are somebody else? That's arbitrary. That's capricious. You see, I came to this board and wanted to add something to the city. I wanted to be on the planning commission because I probably know more about zoning in this city than anybody and have the longest history of anybody within this city. Okay? And in this particular project, I'm going to be the most affected person that there would be. I would have to be. Okay? But I support this project. I support this school because guess what? Most communities would encourage to have an elementary school, a school in their neighborhood. But the fact of the matter, this really isn't anybody's neighborhood. This is in the B4 district. I just have a minute. We're in the B4 district, meaning that we know this school is going to come. It's going to rise or fall on its own merits, okay? And if you think that it's just going to be in that one building, if they're successful, it's going to be in the other also. So that being said, we have a situation already that there's a letter that I handed you from neighbors in the community. They say they're not against the school. But what they are against is what's been going on for years and years and years and years and years that nobody has addressed. The city has failed us in addressing it. And if you want to blame anybody how we got here, I struggled. I begged the Board of Education not to sell that property, to use it. I said it could be classroom space. They told me it couldn't. Well, guess what? I guess it can be, can't it? Bill, I talked to all you folks. I've talked to different ones. So I'm coming to you now and saying to us as a city, let's do the right thing. Let's be good neighbors with each other, okay? Let's do the right thing. So if we have an intersection that seems to be everybody's problem with this project, okay, because that's the only thing. They're going to let their kids off at the same location as Morgantown High School. Understand, I start from 4:30 in the morning. I don't complain to you all. I hear garbage trucks 5 days a week at my property at 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so what I'm suggesting to you all is please let's all work together. And because I'm across the street from B4 zoning, I'm coming to this council because it is your decision. It's the decision that council makes to change zoning. And I'm asking, with Morgantown High around me, the most dense use in the whole community, the most densest use there can be surrounding me, and the B4 district on the other side of me, I want to come to this council because I want to give back this community with the Alexander Wade home and my collections and things like that to bring something. I want to work with the MAC. I want to work, because guess what? I have B4 zoning right across the street from me. I asked for it to be changed, but since nobody thought that was a good idea under the comprehensive plan, I'm asking you to work with me. I'm asking you to work with this school. And let us rise or fall on our merits, okay? And in the meantime, let's all work with Morgantown High School, too, to see what we're doing our names. Thank you for giving me an extra little bit of time, Jenny. I appreciate it. And let's talk about this, because this is something that is before us, and we need to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak, please?
I've been sitting so long. Part of me is asleep.
You're good.
I don't know what I have to do here. Mary Ann Foles. I am a county resident, but I wanted to talk. I saw one of the topics that you have on the agenda today is related to the mountain line.
Pardon, if you're a county resident, you can state your address. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
We take county residents, other
Okay.
municipal residents. We're
Okay.
good.
828 Bloody Run Road. We aren't axe murderers there, just so you know. But I have one of my neighbors owns the Mountaineer Amish sheds, and so what I wanted to talk to you about is about the mountain line, and I wanted to talk about it because I know you're It's one of the things that you guys are working with them on. One of the problems that he has is that there are people who go in there and leave drug paraphernalia, they leave jars of things, they leave, things in the corners, they use the bathroom in there, and that happens at both the area at Sheets up by Hornbeck Road as well as down by Greenback Road. So in both of those locations, actually Greenback Road is worse, but in both of those locations, people are getting right off the bus because that's where the bus line stops, and they then go right into those sheds and stay there. So my request is for anyone here who's working with the Mountain Line, I'm not sure who that is, I don't know if it's you, Danielle, but I'm wondering if there's a way to just move those pickup points and drop-off points so that they're not right there by those sheds. And especially on the Greenback Road location, those folks have to cross the road. So I see them walking on both sides of Don Knotts, and then they have to cross the road. That's a pretty busy intersection to be crossing, and I'm just wondering if something, closer to downtown where there's a crosswalk or something that's a little bit safer to cross the road might be a better place for those pickups, at least for the one there by the Greenback Road instead of that location. And then the one up at Sheets, I don't know what you can do, but if there's another option, I don't know if it would make any difference if it was down by Walmart or I don't know, but that was a little bit tougher. But that's the problem. I just wanted to bring it to your attention and see if there's a way to move those drop-off and pickup points. That's all I got. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me. My name is Miles Case, and I live at 136 Sherman Avenue. So my family and I, due to the heat wave, we've just been going around and handing out water bottles to try to help the homeless people because it's going to be 90s, even getting up to 100 this next week. So we just wanted to ask if it might be possible to have a fire hydrant open just for some relief for the homeless community. That's all.
You'll notice that we don't respond during this meeting, which we're not doing that to be rude. It's the sort of the protocol of the meeting. So you can, council people in their comments at the end can respond to your comment. And also we have administrative staff here that can consider, and you can also call in administrative staff and ask if your proposal is being entertained or not. So.
Hey, Lindsay Jacobs. I live in 5th Ward, Danielle's district. I'm here all the time. Thank you for handing out water. That's awesome. I've been handing out water at the shop too, and juice boxes and popsicles because we don't have a cooling shelter in Morgantown because we don't plan in Morgantown for extreme weather, which impacts everybody, not just folks who are living on the street, but in particular impacts people who are on the street. So yeah, I'm not sure why we don't plan. And I appreciate the folks on council who are pushing for us to better plan for 100-degree heat indexes or freezing cold winter days. I have a lot of gratitude for that. I Googled today. Pretty much every city in the state has their city comms have sent out communications to the community saying you can cool off at the volunteer fire department, you can cool off at this church or at this nonprofit, or some cities offered up city council chamber, some cities offered up municipality, the municipal buildings. So your peers across the state are taking the heat wave seriously. I'd like to see our city likewise take the safety of folks on the street. Again, that's all of us, right? But especially our folks who don't have easy access to shelter. I know there are some places for them to be, but like I met with Laura Jones today at Health Right, and she agrees we need more spaces for folks to be able to cool off and access water and things to avoid heat stroke. Setting that aside, I just have a really simple request tonight, which is for each of you, when you report out, to tell us with as much specificity as you can muster what you've done maybe in the last month or the last few weeks as it relates to developing affordable housing or addressing the crisis of homelessness in Morgantown. I understand that there are some things that you can't tell me about. I'm an attorney. I understand attorney-client privilege. I understand executive session. But I think there are things that you all maybe are doing or conversations you're having that actually aren't protected by those two things and you can share with us. And so respectfully, our group asks that you guys talk about what you're doing with some specificity. I think last time there were some vague sort of references to things that you actually probably could talk about. And so we're going to begin urging you to do that. That's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? And thank you to those who are helping others to work through the heat. So next item on the agenda. We have two consent we have a consent agenda with two items. If anyone's wishing to speak, to take an item off of the agenda, please let us know, but otherwise we go through and we read those two items and then we consider them together. So consideration of approval of second reading of an ordinance naming Monday's Alley. The first reading was 6/4/2024. Item B is consideration of approval of an ordinance annexing the property of Brewston Farm Service, Inc. into the City of Morgantown. The first reading was June 4th, 2024. So this is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
If the clerk would please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Buchanan,
Yes.
Bill Koecki,
Yes.
Weezy Michael,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Celine.
Yes, passes unanimously. On to new business. Item A, consideration of approval of the first reading of an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget of the City of Morgantown as shown in the revised budget attached hereto and made a part of this ordinance as the same applies to the coal severance fund. Emily Musserly.
Thank you, Mayor. So included in the packet was a carryover budget revision for the coal severance fund, but this is actually for 2024 to 2025 year. We have an unusually early deadline of July 15th, which is why it is coming to you now. So we actually have to estimate not only the June interest income that we anticipate, but also the fourth quarter coal severance tax that we anticipate. We originally estimated a $32,000 carryover in the 24-25 budget. We've had a slight downward trend over the last 2 quarters, so we're adjusting the carryover slightly by decreasing the fourth quarter estimate by $2,000 and then estimating an interest earning of $94. So this results in an overall decrease of the budget revision of $1,906. And this is split between contingency and Bill Park. Generally, all money from coal severance goes to Bill Park, but we do put the 10% into contingency, which is what is included here. So this would, the first reading would be tonight, and the second reading would be on the July 2nd meeting to meet those auditors' deadlines. So that's why it's kind of off kilter from how we normally would present those.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? If the clerk would please call the roll.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Buchanan,
Yes.
Bill Koecki,
Yes.
Weezy Michael,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Celine.
Yes, passes unanimously. Item B, consideration of approval of a resolution authorizing an application for the Transportation Alternative Program grant for Spruce Street streetscape design. Our assistant manager.
Thank you. So we are looking for council approval to submit a design grant application to the DOH for their TAP program in the amount of $450,000. This would be for Spruce Street and include a request for designing improvements to vehicular traffic lanes, sidewalks, ADA infrastructure, lighting, landscaping, and evaluating and considering potential changes for consideration for bicycle lanes.
Where would it start going up?
It would likely start at Spruce, I think that's at
Was it?
Kirk Street all the way to Willie. So the full length of it.
Great, great.
Including Spruce?
This is just for the Spruce Street streetscape, so it would be from Kirk
Okay.
Street, which is where it comes around, I believe, by the funeral home, up to Willie.
Great. So is there a motion?
I motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
And then is there discussion or questions?
So we're going to ask DOT to consider bike lanes on Spruce?
It'll be part of the design process to consider some of that. If anyone has driven up there, we know that anyone making a right onto Walnut Street that is in a larger vehicle takes up 2 lanes anyway. And so there's been some ongoing discussion about whether the majority of that roadway actually needs 3 full lane widths of traffic.
I think it's barely wide enough for 3 lanes. 2 lanes and a bike lane would be glorious.
Yes.
It seems like a place where we could make space, but we would have to look at the safety of the turns.
Call it a road diet. I think that road could be on a diet. But yes, it's something we would fully evaluate if awarded the design grant process.
Because the 3 lanes are kind of smallish, kind of blend and merge.
I think what we're looking for now is the money to go after the grant, not trying to design.
Yeah.
We're not designing it today.
No.
Yeah.
Point well taken. All right.
By all means, just go after the grant.
All right. If you call the roll.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Bugon?
Yes.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes?
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Ryan Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
Yes, passes unanimously. Item C, I don't know if this is a John Vrabel or a Emily Mazzarelli.
Either one.
All right. Well, you're here, John. Let's hear it.
Okay. So we are, again, just like the previous, a TAP grant for a design of a bike path, walk path, connecting Saberton to the airport. Right now, we have a lot of pedestrians and users that use Hartman Run Road. If any of you travel that road, it's a very dangerous road to be a pedestrian on of any sort. So the property we purchased recently for the runway extension, the property on the edge of that is kind of perfect contender for this extension. So we're applying to DOH for a design of a TAP grant to do this project. We're basically going to connect Saberton right near the Saberton Baptist Church, right across from Green Bag Road, so it easily connects to the other trails that are currently in place. And we'll end at the walking trails the WVU, or I'm sorry, that the West Virginia Land Trust is building along Hartman Run, so adjacent to the trailer park next to the airport. We're looking at probably a future design to connect from there right to the terminal. But at this point, we'd at least like to get it that far, and then that'll be a smaller project in the future once we decide how we're doing some redevelopment at the airport.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Any questions or discussion?
This has been a long time wish list for a number of groups within the city. The idea of connecting the city in a more friendly pedestrian manner. I think this fits right into it. And certainly, there's no consequence in applying for a grant that will help us move it along. So, by all means, move it forward.
I think sometimes people forget that there are people that live kind of behind the mile ground in some certain areas, that then if they could connect down into Saberton to, say, get groceries, that would make a huge difference for them.
I
So
see it every day.
I bet you do.
John, any concern with easements like with the Baptist church or?
No,
property?
actually, the parking lot and playground that the Baptist church uses, we own.
Yeah.
So connecting right down to that area, there's no issues with it. Now, we will coordinate with the Baptist church to make sure that they understand and it's friendly and good for their use as well. But we have no issues when we own all the property.
Nice.
Wonderful to bring this forth. So if there's not any other discussion, if the clerk would call the roll.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Buganim?
Yes.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
Yes. Passes unanimously. Now we're on to item D, consideration of approval of a resolution authorizing application for a transportation alternative program grant for Chestnut Street streetscape design. Another good one, man.
Another good one, hoping to hopefully get some grant money here. So this would be a $300,000 application request for a grant to do a streetscape along Chestnut Street. So this would include a lot of similar things to Spruce Street, so sidewalks, ADA infrastructure, lighting, landscaping, and instead of a road diet, probably more along the lines of pavement markings for shared use lanes.
It's narrow.
Yeah, we can't eliminate a lane on Chestnut Street, but really trying to complete the aesthetics and the design of the downtown and keep that emphasis on the improvements and investments into the downtown.
All right. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
No questions. It's just, these are considerations that have been a long time on our menu. From the idea of turning it into a pedestrian walkway completely and encouraging businesses to occupy those areas. I'm pleased to see we're paying attention to it again. Let me just bottom line it. So yes.
Any other comments? If you call the roll?
Yes. Deputy Mayor Buganim?
Yes.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
Yes. Passes unanimously. Item E, consideration of approval of a resolution approving fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for the City of Morgantown Airport Improvement Fund. Airport Director John Brabo.
Good evening. So the AIP Improvement Fund is it's an airport improvement program which is funded by the FAA. These are the funds that we use yearly that we're currently using to build the runway extension. These are the grants that we go after to get to that process. They're either through discretionary funding or supplemental funding. We do have some entitlements as well. We get $150,000 a year in entitlements, so it's not a lot. But the discretionary and the supplemental is the target for us. The budget we have in front of you are the grants that we have already accepted and what is left in those grants this year. So you have the revenues from those grants and the expenses which match. So you have a negative or a zero balance.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. And then questions? Super appreciate everything that you do. Super appreciate working on that airport. Look forward to continued success.
We'll keep pushing forward.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Do we have a vote on that?
Yes. Deputy Mayor Buganim,
Yes.
Bill Kowecki,
Yes.
Weezy Michael,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Celine.
Yes, passes unanimously. Consideration of approval of resolution authorizing funding for Mountain Line Transit Authority. Our assistant manager.
Thank you. So included in the packet's a resolution that would allow the city to enter into an agreement or agreements with Mountain Line Transit Authority to provide transportation on Route 50 to Hazel's house. This has been something we have been working with both Hazel's house, Mountain Line, and a number of other folks. This could cover up to 6 months and up to $33,000. We would propose entering into contracts more or less on a month-to-month basis. We are working with them on an alternative solution. As those discussions are in place, this would just help us kind of get through the time until that is finalized. I believe some of this will be presented to council even as soon as next week on proposed plans moving forward. But this just helps us bridge the gap to ensure those services are still available to folks come July 1.
And to kind of put a point on it, this is for our subsidy of the fares. The route will continue. Somebody
Yes.
was talking about this today, was saying, does this mean the route stays the same hours, same everything? It's just whether the city and the county and others help subsidize the route, or whether we get those services delivered in another way. But this
Absolutely.
keeps the status quo.
Thank you for clarifying that. The route has always existed and is proposed to continue existing. The last 2 years, that route has been free to get individuals who may be downtown up to Hazel's house. And we've worked with Mountain Line over the last year or two to kind of either add stops or expand hours or days. But this would not change it from what it is currently operating today, but would allow for at least on a month-to-month basis until a different alternative is available and finalized to be able to allow people to continue to get to either case management services or feeding programs or some of the other services that are along that route. And I think that so far we have a pretty good draft proposal for Mountain Line on solutions moving forward. So thanks to them, and I think you guys will enjoy their proposal next week. And we have a meeting scheduled with them just to talk about quite a few things and meet the new executive director early in July as well.
Good. So this will keep it free for this period of time that we're looking at?
Correct. I think right now we're looking at just the month of July, and if we get towards the end of July and still need an extension, we would just enter into one for August.
And on the same day next week that we would hear about proposals, earlier in the day, there's a Hazel's House of Hope meeting, and the same information would be available to them at that time. And the county is also aware. So, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
And then
Discussion.
discussion.
Yeah. I'm sympathetic to the circumstance. Unfortunately, I don't like being in this circumstance, where it's the city's responsibility to step forth and offer some sort of triage or stopgap manner, and do that without support from other entities. Certainly I'll vote for this, but we find ourselves not only in this circumstance with the bus line, but in other instances too. And again, I'll go back and state that this is a community problem, not a city problem, not exclusively a city problem. These solutions need to be worked out in a broader manner. And I know we're trying. I do, and I appreciate it. Yeah, I just think that it needs to be brought to public attention, though. Thank you.
Well, I'm frustrated. It seems like we are just now having any kind of meaningful conversation about this, and now we're expected to pay for a stopgap measure to get us another month or another 2 months until we can work this out. I've been bringing this up since at least February, saying the clock is ticking, y'all. We knew that it was coming at the end of June, and I proposed several, I don't know, I was not here last week, I was not in on any of the conversations that have been had with the Mountain Line because other people on council said that they were taking the lead on those conversations. But I proposed saying, you know what, our city taxpayers pay the countywide levy, and the city still gives $360,000+. We should set some of that aside and say that's earmarked for this free line. I said, people that pay the levy get free bus passes. We should ask if those can be donated. We were told that that's a conversation that could be revisited. I provided a lot of alternatives, but here we are at the last minute because we drug our feet and we're being asked to pay this. It is not the most economical way to provide this. Even if the city were to purchase bus passes, number one, people who are on healthcare assistance, is it Medicare, Medicaid? I don't know. Which a lot of this population and a lot of people throughout the city are on that. They get half-price rides. So the Mountain Line charging us 75 cents per ride for every time someone gets on that bus is not what those individuals would be paying. A lot of those rides would be half price. For $33,000 for 6 months, Councilor Butcher and I did the math, we could provide more than 125 bus passes at full price for 6 months. Not taking into account that a lot of these folks would be, like, if you're elderly and disabled, they give you a deal. If you're on Medicaid, they give you a deal. The Mountain Line is not being a good community partner, and I will continue to say it as long as I have a microphone in front of me, apparently. We want to talk about what other communities are doing for cooling. I just came from California where it was 108 degrees. And guess what? The public transit there was giving free rides where people could get on a bus that's air conditioned. Like, we don't have these things. Like, we need a little more cooperation, and for the Mountain Line to realize that they are a public entity, they are a community asset, and they need to start acting like it. I don't know.
I had some questions. So is the expectation that most likely we would not be spending this entire 33 and that there would be a different solution that was reached before December 31st?
Correct. So right now, on a monthly basis, I think the tentative proposal is closer to $5,000 for a month, and that is based on the ridership numbers from 2023 in July. So that would be what it would be based on.
And then what pot of funding is this coming from, the 33?
This would be coming from capital escrow contingency funds.
Oh, contingency, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, if we are going to find more sustainable long-term measures, like Councilwoman Trumbull was saying, I think hopefully we can get taxpayer passes donated. I know that I had to ride the bus when I had health issues, and I didn't realize that I got a free bus pass, so I just paid it, which is probably most people's experience with it. And I would be, personally would be happy to donate a bus pass. I, did not really necessarily. I needed it really bad when I needed it, and that was that, which I think is what public transportation is there for, right? And I think that there's probably ready-made databases that we could use for people that are engaged with like HMIS, that do also carry inside of HMIS Medicare data. Being on those insurance programs is part of what you're filling out for HUD requirements. So we could probably get ready-made lists that could be built into kind of a citywide pass system, because it is the case that we have heard quite often that when we did have, for those of us that were involved when there were bus passes provided at various social service organizations, it was a little bit tough to get an understanding from every social service organization about who has them and when. And that was a constant point of conversation when we were talking about Hazel's in those different meetings and about transportation in general. But and so it sucked up a lot of energy to try to figure out who has bus passes and where we could direct people with social service organizations. And but now that route is free and there's no bus passes anywhere, we do have issues where people need to make appointments, they need to go for job interviews. A lot of the need that I hear a lot of the time is I need to go pick up medication. That's a big one. Or get out to the hospital for an appointment. So a more generalized pass that hopefully could cost us less, or it could just be a transfer from current taxpayer bus passes that are readily available. I think would be, hopefully that's a workable solution that we can see very, very soon, instead of carrying this through all the way to December. That's my comments.
So in my conversations with the bus system, they are very willing to work on solutions. They're easy to talk to. They follow up on what they say they're going to do, and we just need to make sure that we're engaging with them in a positive way. They're a service provider, so if they have a specific program, it's usually designed to be a specific program. They can, of course, speak for themselves, but like the homeowner program is pretty much designed for taxpayers, and they verify and follow up with taxpayers that they're current in their taxes and so on. So if you were to donate one to someone, it would be difficult, because then if the taxpayer then subsequently didn't pay their taxes, then all of a sudden the person who would be using the pass wouldn't have a working pass. So they would prefer to work on a program that was targeted for the individuals that we're working with their needs. So taking into account things like the need to get to medical appointments, not just to H3, the need to work through social service agencies and work on some of those passes, and then also the need to get to Hazel's house. So anyway, that may look like two separate programs, and they may roll out sequentially, but for starters, we're going to work on getting people to H3, and then we can work on those long-term passes, and Councilor Aboganum has been working on the long-term passes, and I've been working more on the short-term, getting people to Hazel's house. So they're kind of two possibly separate issues, probably separate issues. But you will get to speak with Maria Smith next week, and I would think that we can come to some sort of resolution on this and move forward. But in the meantime, we are paying to keep the service going, because it was not developed sooner, and it was just going to, the subsidy was going to stop. And so if we continue the subsidy while we create the program and get things moving in the right direction, I think it will be at a lower cost, and the county will at least consider what we're working on and possibly be a partner, and we can move this forward. Any other questions or concerns?
So we're actively working it.
I had a meeting, a sit-down conversation in regards to the long-term solution for the bus passes. That's really all. I don't want to say too much. Hopefully next week it looks like more solid plan.
This is on the committee of the whole agenda for Mountain Line to be here next Tuesday. That is already posted. They have been emailing back and forth with us, as well as our city attorney, and the city manager and I have a meeting scheduled with the executive director. I believe it is July 11th.
I'm just frustrated on being asked to vote for something that I really have no information. There's a big difference between paying $5,000 for 1 month, because we're going to hear about this next week and we'll see how long, but another $33,000 to the Mountain Line that we've already given a ton of money to, who I don't know what kind of constructive conversations have been had, because those haven't been shared. So I like 1 month, fine. 6 months, we should have started working on this 6 months ago.
I think they've been working on it. I think there hasn't been communication back and forth, so. So it's anticipated that this would take 2 months. And then maybe we would help pay for some of the passes to get started. Some of this double use passes to get up and back to Hazel's house, so that we can keep things moving forward at a lower cost and
But
more
that's
targeted.
for the cost, for what it's costing us just to get people to and from H3. Let's be clear, there's not even a shelter at H3 right now. For the same cost, we could give people a monthly pass to literally get wherever they need to go. We could give a lot of people a monthly pass to get wherever they need to go.
Those arrangements would need to have been made, and now they're in the process of being made.
Call for the question.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Buganim?
Yes.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
Yes, passes unanimously. Consideration of approval of a resolution authorizing certain individuals of the City of Morgantown to transact business with the city's various banking institutions. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution will authorize 4 persons as signatories on the city's various bank accounts. The city needs to designate these officers by resolution, and needs to have multiple signatories so it can maintain its internal controls. I recommend the City Council adopt this resolution.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Question for the attorney. Given Kevin Tennett's on here, does it have to be a specific person's name? Given
Yes.
that will change over very quickly. So we have to put Kevin's, we couldn't just put finance director on there.
Individual names need to be used. Should they need to be updated in the future, they can be done by resolution.
Okay.
So what's the significance of doing this one now? Is it adding the assistant finance director's name, the new assistant finance director's name to it? Or why
Or
would
is
we
this-
not just wait a couple of weeks until Kevin's not here?
Is this something we needed him?
I want to make sure we're not discussing personnel matters in a public meeting. This resolution was proposed by the Finance Department to name these 4 signatories to make sure they have the appropriate people in place for our bank records.
And we'll see this again in 2 or 3 weeks.
I'm not sure.
She didn't maintain a certain number of signatories. Is that?
Call a question?
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Buchanan?
Yes.
Bill Kolecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
Yes. Passes unanimously. Consideration of approval of self-contained breathing apparatuses, the bid award 2024-14. Our assistant manager.
Thank you. So we sought bids to get 5 new SCBAs, or self-contained breathing apparatuses. If you're unaware, these are devices worn typically by firefighters, and obviously in this case ours, to provide a safe supply of breathable gas when you're in an atmosphere that it could be dangerous to life or health, so when you are going into a fire. So we regularly replace our SCBAs to ensure that we have appropriate and necessary equipment and PPE as over the course of the job. While we only had one submitted bid in the amount of $53,207.20, it's the opinion of the fire department that this is a competitive price, and we recommend award of this bid to Whitmer Public Safety Company.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Are there any questions? It's always unfortunate when we have one bid, but if it is a reasonable cost and we need the apparatus, here we are.
Is it typically, is it competitive in terms of what is expected?
According to the fire department, yes.
It's
I
sufficient.
Googled it, and it seemed in line, but
It's within
I
the
wouldn't
realm.
put a whole lot of faith in the Google. I will put more faith in our fire department, who orders these more frequently than I Google it.
Google told me it wasn't going to rain today.
Boy, was that wrong.
Is there a motion?
My motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
I think
Already-
we
we
already
already
did
did
that,
that.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm on reruns, apparently.
I
All
forgot I
right.
had called Jinx on Wheezy, so,
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Buchanan?
yes.
Bill Kolecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
Yes, passes unanimously. Assistant City Manager's Report.
Thank you. So press release went out today earlier about Chief Deem's retirement. So just wanted to wish him well in that, and we are beyond grateful for his leadership over the last 3 years as fire chief, and his time 31 years with the service to the city. We will be providing him with a small dedication of our gratitude at a date later to be determined. And in the interim, we have appointed John Lemley, who's currently captain within the fire department, to serve as interim chief. Following up to the storm, we have gotten an update from Mon Power that there are still in Mon County, not just Morgantown, but Mon County, we apparently hit the eye of the storm. We currently have over 10,400 customers out of service. And obviously with this size of an impact, we don't have an estimated time to restore that yet. Again, that's over the whole county, but they are aware of those and are working on them. So in other news today, we have the city and county jointly working together, have opened up a request for proposals for a cold weather shelter for the 24-25 season for organizations to apply to be considered for funding. I believe, as stated, our current due date to respond is July 17th, so we hope that interested organizations apply to that. Next Monday, the 24th, we have our great race downtown. In conjunction with that event, we have our first official date that we have expanded our POTA hours. Thank you to Councilwoman Trumbull for the suggestion. So if you would like to partake in a beverage while you are enjoying the great race, we welcome you to do that. Yesterday, we kicked off the first phase of our strategic plan, our next phase of the strategic plan development. Council provided a great framework when we had our workshop or our retreat with you, as well as offering great ideas to the survey. And then staff will work to create projects and priorities. We have 5 workshops scheduled with our consultant in early July, and then hopefully soon thereafter we can present a final draft to council for all of the projects that would be included in that. Last Friday, staff met with MUB representatives to review current status of bridge and trail designs for White Park and Flegel. We received great feedback and are looking forward to finalizing those plans and moving forward to construction documents and putting that out for bid. I provided council with a draft proposal on the use of the city's approximately $90,000 in opioid funds. So thank you to those who have gotten back to me on some of those thoughts already. We will continue working on those and get back to you as your questions come in. It was briefly mentioned also earlier today by our chief building official about finishing the bid document for the environmental reviews and asbestos reviews on all of the properties in Richwood. We're excited that we have gotten those all back. That was our last missing piece. So we are working on finalizing those bid documents for the next phase, which will be moving forward with the demo of all of about 50 plus structures. So we hope that will come out in the next month or so. That project is moving forward. And lastly, just wanted to update, we have had an opportunity through the state legislature and some updated pension laws. We've been working with our police and fire departments on an opportunity to transition to a more sustainable funding. Specifically, they have adopted new methods that will allow us to actually fund our pensions fully. It doesn't affect any current employees or retirees, other to ensure that those funds are made. We are one of the few remaining cities that are under the funding mechanism that we are, and our funding of both plans are below 30%. So we have been working with our actuary since last winter to try to see how we can transition to a more actuarially sound plan for funding. We have been presenting this information both to police and fire leadership, and then we have also met with the board. Unfortunately, right now the boards are not in favor of the plan because they believe that increased growth in their investments will allow those plans to be fully funded. We continue to rely on actuarial data to process these costs, and we feel that the only way to fund those will be to switch to an optional 2 method, but and making this transition earlier will in the end cost the city less. But we want to recognize that it's important to ensure that employees' questions are answered and that we provide as much information as we can. So we're going to continue this discussion with our local pension boards, and we will anticipate to expect to report that onto council at a future date. And that ends my report.
We're hoping a future date soon.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, how are we proceeding with the Walnut Street streetscape?
The Walnut Street streetscape, due to a technicality, the original bids were turned down, and they are rebidding that. It is planned for rebid sometime in July, so hopefully come mid-July, we will avoid that small technicality in the bid award and be able to get that project back on track. So I do believe a number of the people who had responded to that previously are intending to respond again.
It's a good opportunity. Are we going to meet? Are we going to get this done this construction season, or are we going to put it off another year?
Good question.
Well, this is a state-run project, so we don't get to dictate the timeframes of that project. We would hope that the successful bidder would want to get started early on that project. But I believe that even previously when it was bid, it did go, the bid timeline or the construction timeline was allowed to go into 2025. But that doesn't mean they can't start before then.
It's a good lesson for council, also for community, how long these projects, however well-intentioned, are, whether aimed at our social services or our infrastructure, just getting things moving and getting the things in place to cause it to happen just take an extraordinary amount of time that is extremely frustrating for all involved.
I would be curious if this is the longest ongoing TAP project, because not only have we had just complicated construction needs with all of the many vaults that are in Walnut Street, but we also originally awarded this project under the old process for TAP grants, and in the middle of it had to switch to the new one. So it has gone on longer than any of us would like, and we can't wait to see this one be done for no other reason to just not have to deal with it anymore. But we are looking forward to a much improved product on Walnut Street, or for the block of Walnut Street,
And
when it does finally get started.
And we put ourselves in line for 2 more additional streetscapes, is that correct?
You know, we're just gluttons for punishment.
Just an underline, that's all.
Subsequent streetscapes have gone much smoother and much faster than this one. This one was just kind of an unfortunate circumstance of timing.
So how many blocks is this?
This will be one whole block from High Street to Spruce Street.
And what happens to the other blocks? Do we need to apply for those as well then?
I'm sure they will be on the list of future TAP grant applications. We have been fairly successful at getting TAP grant applications awarded and moving those forward. So
appreciate the persistence.
Yep.
Billy, could you give a status update to the White Park Bridge in terms of design, or where we are in the process of maybe having a timeline?
Absolutely. So what we presented to MUB and the information was sent to Boat Park staff as well, and maybe chair, was about a 60% design with concept aesthetics. So we have completed all geotechnical requirements. They call it a type, size, and location plan, TSNL. We have 60% design cost estimates. So from here, we would be moving forward. And so from the 60% design, that's usually the most difficult design to get to. You've kind of done all of the geotech investigation, come up with the type of bridge that you're putting in, done any kind of environmental review. And so it would just be moving forward, finalizing those and making them into construction bidding document level plans and specs, and being able to move that forward. So we have been continuing to work with our consultant for hopefully getting that out to bid in 2024. But I would estimate we have to finalize some additional work with the, I believe it's Fish and Wildlife, or DNR, here about our lovely endangered bats and how that may impact any. I think there is 4 or 5 trees on either side that could be impacted by the
So that means
abutment.
October, November type work?
I believe most of our bat restrictions are that trees need to be felled before November. It's been a while since I've been in the nitty-gritty of bat mitigation.
I can't remember, Mud dealt with that recently too.
Yes, so it's a pretty small number of trees, so. And
So fingers crossed, 25, we might be able to cross the bridge.
well, if we're not doing it at that point. And I think we are looking at about a 4 to 6 month construction timeline, and then any kind of trail would obviously go after that. And we've been planning for some finalizing landscaping. You just don't want to do that while any kind of construction is occurring. And one thing that came up was trying to make sure that we are coordinating any kind of staging areas or equipment or loading of beams in. I believe some of the beams are over 80 feet long, and so when you're bringing those in, coordinating that with the ice arena project that may also be happening during that time. So.
Thank you.
Wow. All right. Report from the city clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to congratulate again Hannah Horn, who will be going to the police academy this weekend. So we're excited to get her on board. Very proud of her. She just a little bit of information about her. When she took the written test, she's taken it twice. She had to. She couldn't come on the last time because she had an injury, but she took the test, the written test, and both times she was top scorer. So that's a great accomplishment for anyone. So we want to say congratulations to Hannah and the best of luck to her. But I do also want to share that we still have openings. We received a resignation from one of our police officers this week, so we're losing another one. And I believe that we're about 25 or so. 26 short. So we will be testing again in October. So if you want to spread the word, continue to spread the word. I know that the word is getting out and folks are applying, and they keep coming in, and we'll just try to educate them and do our best to prepare them for the tests. And I know that our officers are doing that, and they're reaching out to them prior to the test to help in any way. So October we'll be testing again. And then I want to echo Assistant City Manager's congratulations to our Fire Chief Deem, who will be leaving us at the end of the week after 31 years of service to our city. I think that says a lot. And then our chief, being our chief for the last 3 years, he's done an extraordinary job at leading our fire service. And on behalf of the Fire Civil Service Commission and the clerk's office, who work so closely with them, you know, we're happy for him. And but I want to share that during his tenure as fire chief, the department achieved many accomplishments. The most significant was the purchase of a new aerial ladder and engine, the extensive renovations to the Norwood Firehouse, planning for design of the construction of a new South Side Firehouse, and then our baby box, if you remember. That was something new here in West Virginia, I believe. So anyway, congratulations to Chief Deem. We're going to miss him. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. So now we have City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. The city's pedestrian plan steering committee, that's led by our Department of Engineering and Public Works, will have its third meeting next Tuesday, the 25th, That group is identifying pedestrian needs in the city. It's a prerequisite for accessing federal funds that will ideally fund the projects needed to address the pedestrian needs identified by the committee. City Council recently approved a reimbursement resolution for proposed improvements to Lower Morella Park. Proposed financing for that project will be through a building commission lease revenue bond. We're continuing to work on those documents and would likely be a project that comes back to the building commission and to City Council later in the summer. City Council tonight approved the annexation ordinance for the Brewston Farm Service property in the Brookhaven area. We will forward to the County Commission the certificate of that annexation and assist them with getting that entered on the county's record books and communicate with the property owner as well. That's all I have to report this evening.
Thank you. So now we are on to report from City Council members. Deputy Mayor Abelganem.
Sure. Last time we were here, we were preparing for our first ward neighborhood yard sale. We ended up with, I believe it was 28 different houses on our Google map for everybody to go around to. I manned the hydration station, which included grape electrolyte because it was not name brand, and water. And then our neighborhood association meeting will be coming up this following Monday, which will be a very busy day because that is finally the culmination of the event planning for the Great Race through the efforts of the Main Street Morgantown and the Morgantown CVB and Nikki Laufer's wonderful job in just organizing all of those meetings over the last few months. I think the first one was November and the last one was this past Monday. The best part is she informed me that I get to shoot off a confetti cannon to the incoming classic cars. So I am excited for that. In addition to the rolling museum that it is with the 120 classic vehicles, as well as our local Dream Machine Car Club will be having their own show, as well as local vendors for a vintage market and in the different food trucks that'll be downtown. And the weather is supposed to be perfect, not overly hot next Monday, so I'm excited for that. And it starts at 12. And I told Nikki I would let everybody know to please look for parking in our parking garages, which will be available to those attending as well as those that are trying to get downtown or local businesses looking for parking as well, because High Street will be shut down for the event. And with the POTA being expanded to 11 a.m., everybody will be able to go around and have a nice beverage as they check out all the wonderful things, including a Pinewood Derby race as well. And then I think, let's see, that'll be my report for today.
Very good.
Thank you.
Next.
Next.
Keep it short. The South Park Association of Neighbors will meet on the 26th of this month. We have a few items on the agenda, but we'll be looking at what we're doing in terms of our yard sale and our block party. The only other thing I would say that in terms of what's ongoing, you heard the frustration tonight in terms of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it, and trying to coordinate with the various groups that we really need to depend upon in order to accomplish these things. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for the people who have tried to put things together and are aware of problems and have solutions, but it requires the cooperation of a greater group of people with the expertise that we need. And sometimes that's not very comfortable. But we are moving forward, and we're devising strategies, even if they are stopgap method, in terms of putting it together. We did put out an RFP for the warming facility, and I think that's appropriate, and I'm happy to see that happen. And I really feel good about what our administration is trying to put together for us in terms of accomplishing these goals. And that ends my report.
I don't have a whole lot to say today, but I do want to say that I'd like to maybe join Danielle and Dave in their support of a charter review, and maybe it'll help me understand some things. So that's all I have today. My back's killing me. That's it.
Thank you. Yes?
Hey, that's 3 of us. That sounds like it's on an agenda now. Hot darn. Thank you, Louise. I spent the week I was in California at the National League of Cities Leadership Conference. That's always held where the president of the National League of Cities resides, and he is in Rancho Cordova, California, a large suburb of Sacramento. As I mentioned, it was 108 degrees. It was just lovely. While I was there, we had a couple of networking events, but we also had the opportunity, I toured a couple of their arts venues, an international food market that they are very proud of.
International what?
Food market.
Oh, okay.
They pride themselves on being one of the most diverse cities in the nation. They claim they used to be like number 23, and maybe now they've dropped to 70, but their public school system speaks over 90 languages, they said. So they took us to a food market where they really focused on having like the creature comforts from all of the various countries that people are looking for. You know, they have like, they made a big deal, they have Egyptian toilet paper, because if you want something from home, sometimes that's toilet paper. They pointed that out to us a couple of times, so it must be a big deal. In addition to that, we toured their youth center, which has been a long time desire of Morgantown, things that we should aspire to. I got the opportunity to attend meetings on their homeless outreach initiatives. I got to attend meetings on workforce development efforts throughout the nation. That's been one of the large focuses of the National League of Cities this year, so they did a workshop on that. And the Human Development Committee started our review of the committee's standing policy and some resolutions that we're hoping to get through in November at the larger conference. That was the first time we had really kind of started nailing those things down. Up to this point, our meetings have been discussions on things like workforce development or food insecurity or different things like that. So excited to actually get into the work of things that the NLC will be advocating for to the federal government on behalf of municipalities. I think I was the only person from West Virginia in attendance at the conference, so always great to have representation. There were some meetings last week that I missed, especially with the board of MCR. I got some updates on those. I do believe, despite the fact that Morgantown Community Resources had filed a lawsuit against the Bartlett House in an effort to regain the space so that it can be used by the other agencies that we are talking to, I think we did reach an agreement tentatively with Bartlett House to continue with the apartments and rooms that are rented on the upper floors of their space, so that's good. We definitely did not want to displace anyone. Our intent is to try to make sure that we get back to having a shelter open in the community. It's my understanding I'm supposed to be watching for a meeting invitation. We'll hopefully be talking to the other organizations on Thursday about how we can best move forward with that, but I thought that was probably the best outcome that could have happened while I was gone and not there to argue my case. Speaking of H3, if people are looking for cooling centers, The H3 day room is open daytime hours. I believe it's open until 4 or 4:30 every day. There are showers, there are laundry, there is air conditioning, they have televisions, activities, internet. That is definitely an option, should anyone need that. I guess the only other thing this has been one of the things that we continually bring up and argue about, but we again saw today that the bathrooms at the amphitheater are going to be, they were closed today, tomorrow, and Thursday. And that is not a Bow Park facility. I saw some people online complaining that, like, how could Bow Park do this? Bow Park does not run the amphitheater. And those bathrooms are maintained by a different, by a city department. Even so, holidays, weekends, those are times when people are not working and they want to be using the trail, and having a restroom open would be really great. It was suggested, as we as council are talking, and we actually did start conversations about having lockers and a 24-hour public restroom. It was suggested to me by a staff member yesterday, well, there's a lot of public restrooms in the downtown. There's really not, and especially when the amphitheater is closed, that there are none. And if we don't want excrement on the street, you have to have an option for people. I don't think it's any secret that during my time on council, my time of campaigning, I have said, like, I am not a fan of encampments and how they affect the surrounding neighborhoods and things, but that has always been with the caveat that we have to have other options for people. And right now, we have no shelter. If there's no public restroom available, people have no option. We have to work on these kind of things, making amenities available if we expect a change in behavior. So I was frustrated to see that was going to be closed for the next several days, especially considering the library bathroom has been out of service, or they're closed tomorrow as well. I don't know where we expect people to go. So I think that's plenty for today.
All right, thank you.
A quick rail trail update. The section from the Arboretum through Star City was repaved and opened last week. So that was original trail surface, so that's nice to see. And ditching and clearing was done on the Deckers Creek mid-upper section. And just to point out that that's an ongoing maintenance of that near 50-mile linear park to keep that open and available. And Saturday was a great day in Morgantown. It started with the Greenmont Neighborhood Association cleanup along Deckers from the pedestrian bridge towards the high school in the lower section. And Councilor Trumbull was there. There were dozens of people there helping out, and really got a lot cleaned up. And then on High Street, the West Virginia birthday party, very fun event put on by Main Street. The Pride Party down at the amphitheater was a fun time, and wrapping it up with the Moonlight Market. Just a lot of good things happening in Morgantown on Saturday. And you'll see on the agenda, I can't remember if it was mentioned earlier, but the Morgantown Utility Board General Manager will be here for the committee, the whole meeting. And Bob is trying for they've been awarded a $6.7 million economic enhancement grant. And so it's got to be a little bit fast-tracked because they have to put it out to bid by August 15th. And so that's the reason why he's trying to get on the agenda. And this is for Cheat Lake. I'm sorry, this is for the Cheat Lake sewer treatment plant. And so any rate increases that need to happen that will help fund that project will be provided by that service district. So it won't impact Morgantown residents. It'll be the Cheat Lake residents who are using that sewer system. But he'll explain more of that. But if you're wondering why is it happening quickly, or why are we being asked to vote on something, that'll be the reason, is that August 15th deadline for putting it to bed. So I can get more info if you need it, but Mike will be here next Tuesday to explain that. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. I wanted to break with decorum a little bit, but it doesn't look like Miles is still here. It was just funny. I was on the phone last night with somebody doing an intake on somebody who's out on the street, and they were like, they got interrupted several times by somebody trying to give them water. So I was wondering if that was Miles. But so you can call me if it was. My number's on the city website. But anyway, I just thought that was funny. I'm appreciative of the locker and warming shelter RFPs that are being worked on, as well as the opioid fund use options that we've seen, and any discussion we might have on those. I've also been appreciative of efforts that we're trying to make in terms of municipal ID and transportation efforts. There are definitely conversations and ideas about where we can go with source of income discrimination that have been happening. And I think we've also had some recent conversations about developing like some temporary housing measures that would probably be way down the line, but I've been appreciative of those kind of conversations. I think something we don't need to lose sight of, especially given a lot of the focus we've had on sort of short-term help for individuals, is like those sort of short-term solutions are ultimately probably in some ways unsustainable if we don't address the underlying issues of affordable housing and addiction and mental health resources. So for that reason, I would encourage our planner, our city councilors to really research, think about, and work on inclusionary zoning as we had kind of put in our strategic plan. I have recently been asked a lot about rental assistance from several different people. It's a constant need. It seems to be heightened at this time of year. I don't know why, but so I believe that aiding people with rental assistance and understanding where it is that organizations can help better with deposits, down payments, and things like that, or to keep people from being evicted, is also a critical component going forward with long-term solutions to the housing crisis. And I would just encourage council to take a personal interest and responsibility for those kind of ideas and efforts. And the last thing I want to talk about today, I guess, was Pride. We had our Pride Parade on Thursday. I didn't attend the Pride Parade because I was basically the principal organizer of the block party, and I said I cannot do both. But I wanted to thank personally our assistant city manager for really helping to make sure we had basically a snafu that I won't get into the details of, but Emily really honestly stepped up and made sure that happened. I really appreciate you taking that initiative, believe after working hours as well. So everybody on the board, very seriously, thanks you for doing that and taking care of that for us. And so that was fun from what I saw. I was not there. And then, of course, on Saturday we had block party from Vincent's, our arts and culture director's his estimate, which I believe his estimate last year was low. So I'll go with his estimate this year's low too. But his estimate was around 1,200 people attended the Pride block party. We had, in the end, because this happens every year where people show up and they said, I had a spot. And I'm like, no, you didn't, but here you go. In the end, we had around 51 vendors. It's 50 or 51, I can't remember exactly. We had 6 drag performers and 4 bands, and the entertainment just went all day long. I think we're going to retool things a little bit next year, but it was really great to see everybody out and supporting Pride and just celebrating who they are and feeling accepted in that space. I tell people all the time that this is like the most stressful thing I do all year, and is like really, really time consuming and everything, but it is so much fun when it's happening, and it feels really gratifying afterwards. I also want to thank Councilman Abu Ghanem for supplying us with some coolers, some water coolers, and also for supplying those now for people to get water out on the street. And finally, afterwards, we left there, and there was a after party at the Apothecary. It was so packed. There were people like waiting outside when I got there, and then when I came in, we all got in fairly quickly, but they were at capacity, from what I understand, like all night long. So that's really cool to see. I'm glad that it was well received within the community, and that was a ton of fun. I was at the Apothecary for like maybe 45 minutes, and only there that long because it took that long to get a drink, and then got one and left because I was tired. But again, appreciate everybody who showed up. I know Councilman Harshberger, you were there, and Councilwoman Trumbull, you were there. I know Weeze, you were there at the parade on Thursday. If I didn't see anybody there, I was working the event, so sorry if I missed you. But appreciate everybody who came out and supported our event, and hopefully we can keep doing it. We might have some ideas for next year that make it a little bit bigger, so we'll see what the city thinks about that. So, but that'll conclude my report. Thanks.
Nice. Is there anything else you want to talk about? No. Okay. So with regard to bathrooms, as a general concept, I would like to see the bathrooms at the amphitheater open. I would like to see the bathrooms at the library open. I would like to see additional bathrooms. One thing that people need to keep in mind when they're looking at bathrooms is bathroom behavior. So when there's bathrooms that, you said at the library they have to have a grinder, is that right?
I talked to Sarah about that. That may just be because of mud issues.
Okay. Anyway, when we have issues in bathrooms with needles going down drains, with people purposely putting plants down the bathrooms at the amphitheater, and clogging them up and requiring a lot of extensive work to get them unclogged. When we have, I know some of the other bathrooms along the trail had feces spread along the walls. So when we have issues with bathrooms where people are not respectful of the facilities, then it gets harder to leave them open at all of the hours. Some places, bathrooms are open 24 hours, but it's difficult to leave bathrooms open 24 hours when people's behavior doesn't match the expectation or the design of the bathroom. So when bathrooms are designed with tile or dispensers that can be pulled down, or other kinds of facilities that make, I don't know what you would call it, but a nicer bathroom, or a bathroom that goes with a nice facility, and they're not treated well, then they are more often closed. And when we create some bathrooms, which is probably part of what the solution to this problem is, that are able to be hosed down, that are stainless steel, that are designed so that nothing can be pulled down, that are designed more in a basic way, in a way that they can be used by everyone, but they are basically indestructible. that may not be the bathroom that makes people feel like they are at home or like they are in a really nice facility, but it would be a basic bathroom that could be used, that could be left open more. So I think we need to just think about, as we're creating more facilities, how to create facilities and pay for cleaning frequency so that we can have bathrooms that can be used by everyone. It's just, I know that I've been hearing about issues in the downtown with people emptying trash. So we're going to have to be designing our trash containers so that they cannot be dumped more often. Those type of trash containers that cannot be dumped, and have more cameras and monitoring of trash containers. So it gets to be frustrating when we want to be open and welcoming for all, but we also need better behavior whenever we can get it, and good design when we can't. If people wanted to know the kinds of things that I've been working on this month, there was a conversation with Habitat for Humanity and the Fairmont Morgantown Homecoming about how we could use the lots that they have available in the city for creating more affordable housing, how we could possibly have tiny homes at some location, possibly Hazel's house, but possibly somewhere else, whatever we can muster. But tiny homes has been mentioned by pretty much everyone I've ever talked to about how to handle some of our current housing needs and live up to our housing first model, because that would be an affordable way to have just past an emergency shelter, how we could have people in there waiting for other types of housing in a tiny home or using a tiny home. So I'm wanting to see our downtown be a downtown for everyone, but that means that we have expectations, and I'd like to make sure that we are, as we're moving forward, that we are focusing on some of those expectations and that we are enforcing some of those expectations, so that when people are here in whatever capacity, they know that we have a community that is available for everyone. And I guess that's enough of that. Thank you.
I move that pursuant to West Virginia Code Section 6-9A4B9, we move to discuss matters related to the acquisition and development or improvement of real estate in or around Wiley Street or Willie Street? Willie Street.
Second.
Thank you.
I always called it Wiley, though. Is it a lesion or lesion?
Is it Saberton or Sobriety?
Sobriety.